Hello and welcome to another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. It is a beautiful, roughly 55-degree Saturday out here at the range. I'm on the rifle range today. I hope to get a few videos in, hopefully before other people show up, because it's hard for me to do these voiceovers on the range when there's other people here, so that's why I usually do voiceovers at home after the fact. But I have a fun video today. What I decided to take out today is finally to do some range testing on my Mosin Nagant that I've modified with that precision aluminum rail. The scope that I put on here, which was kind of a knockoff no-name scope, the muzzle brake by Howling Raven, and I have a whole ammo can full of 7.62 by 54R milsurp ammo. It's probably corrosive, so that means as soon as I get home with this, I got to pull the scope off, pull the bolt out, pull the stock off, and clean it with 409 in my shower, and then clean my shower so my wife doesn't get mad. So shooting corrosive ammo does warrant a lot more maintenance on your gun, or a little bit more involved maintenance on your gun. But the ammo that I'm shooting today, I bought a couple of years ago. I believe it was a 440 round Spam can. You saw me open it in one of my really old videos if you want to go back and watch it. But I think I paid $159 or $175 for 440 rounds of this ammo. I haven't seen it that cheap since, nor have I rarely seen any Spam cans of 7.62 by 54R since then. So we're gonna get out here today. We're gonna do some shooting with the Mosin Nagant. Let's just get out there and have a good time. I'm gonna set up at 25, 50, and 100 yards. I wanna sight in the scope. If I can get it sighted in, I might do some accuracy shooting. That's the whole point of this, to make it a little bit more accurate and a little bit more shootable. So let's get set up and let's see where we go from here. All right, so I'm set up here. Got the Mosin Nagant. I got some ammo, and whoa, pretty much I'm just gonna try to sight it in and then take some shots at some groups and see what I can do with that. Like I said, I'm shooting some milsurp ammo. Some of these are silver tip, most of them are not. They're just your regular run-of-the-mill steel cased. I think they're like 174 grain or something, I'm not even sure, because it's been so long since I looked them up. But I'm gonna go ahead and load up, take some shots here and see how far off the scope is. I got a whole bunch of ammo here, probably 400 rounds. I'm definitely not shooting all that today, but I do want to put some rounds through it and get some fun out of this. I really enjoy shooting this gun, even though it pounds your shoulder. It is still fun to shoot, so let's see what I can do here. I have no idea where the scope is aimed. Really long eye relief scope. You can see my face is about 7 inches away from that glass. And you can see my trigger finger is not on the trigger right now. I'm not ready to shoot, so I don't have my finger on that trigger. Here we go. I think I'm a little to the right, so that's right. Let's see here. I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised. It only took me 5 rounds to get the scope sighted in. Basically, the windage was off. I adjusted the windage in, and then I was able to get the elevation pretty close. I'm about 1/4 of an inch off the bullseye at 25 yards. I know the bullet is probably going to rise at 50 and even out somewhere around 100. but I just wanted to get it sighted in so at least I know I'm on paper, because the further out you go, the harder it is to get it sighted in. So let's see what I can do now at 50 yards. So at 25 yards, I was able to get it right next to the bullseye. At 50 yards, the first and second shot, I pulled them a little bit. You probably saw the gun jump. I'm not holding it down, I'm just trying to shoot. I got two pretty close to the bullseye, one of them about 3 o'clock, a couple inches away, and one of them about 1 o'clock. Let's see what I can do out to 100 yards here. All right, so let's take a quick walk out here and see what I did at each of these distances. This is my 25-yard target. I started out, these two were the first two shots I took. Then I walked it into this one with the scope. Then I walked it into this one. And then that was darn near on the bullseye. That's about a 1/4 of an inch off the bullseye. So that's the first 5 shots at 25 yards. Let's go out to 50. Really, the whole point of this exercise is to try to get it more accurate. The open sights on those guns aren't fantastic. So I know these two I pulled. One of them, you saw the gun jump. That was the second. I think this was the second shot. This was the first. And then these 3 were the 3rd, 4th, and 5th shots. I'm not sure what order they were in, but that's not terrible accuracy. Again, somebody's going to rip me and say I'm a crummy shot. Again, I never make any claims of being a marksman. But if you think about this, this is like a 3rd size silhouette at 50 yards, which is 150 feet. That's halfway down a football field. And these are all still in the vital area of a human being or an animal at 50 yards. So again, to me, practical accuracy, not a terrible shot, even though I know somebody's going to rip on me for it. I'm just getting to a point where I don't really care anymore. Let's go out here to 100. And I have 4 shoot and see bullseye targets on this, and because I sighted this in at 25 yards, I can already tell that my group at 100 is high. So I was aiming here for the center of this. My group is high. That's about a 4.5 inch group, maybe from tip to tip at 100 yards. Elevation is pretty accurate. I mean, pretty much consistent with all those shots. The windage changes a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and try to dial the sight down to get it in at 100 yards. So that's about a 4.5 inch. So I got to figure out how many clicks that is to get it right. I think 1 click is a 1/4 inch at 100 yards. So I'm going to go ahead and dial that in. We'll come back in a minute. All right, so at 100 yards, I was about 4 inches high. So I want to go down. I think that's going to be about 16 clicks. So let's go down to 0. We'll try 0. Wait a minute, that was way more. I was on 13. 12, 13, 16. All right, that's about 16 clicks. So I'm going to try again at 100 yards. See if that makes it much better. Should be pretty close. Again, I don't know how accurate the scope is. It is a Chinese-made scope, and this is a 1935 year of manufacture, Russian Mosin Nagant. I haven't put a considerable amount of rounds through this gun since I bought it. I probably only put 50 or 60 rounds through it since I bought it. And I'm hoping that this scope makes it a lot more fun to shoot. The muzzle brake does help a little bit, believe it or not. I know a lot of people rag on me for having muzzle brakes at the range. You can see on the sides of me here, there are huge plywood walls, so it's not like I'm blasting somebody in the face with a muzzle brake on this. Yeah, it's a little bit noisier, but it manages the recoil of something like this quite a bit better, and it looks cool. So I don't really care what you think. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. There's always going to be somebody that criticizes you. The whole point of any hobby is to put your personality into the hobby. So you put personality on a gun, and in this case, I'm not ruining the gun. Everything I did is 100% reversible, but I'm putting a little personality on it, my personality, and making it a lot more functional. So let's put another 5 rounds on at 100 yards and see if I can get any better, closer to that bullseye. So now what I'm doing is basically shooting at each one of those bullseyes to see where the impacts are now. I did the bottom one and the top one in the head, and I'm going to do the one on the left and then the one on the right. We'll see how the groups are after that. This is my target at 25 yards after I got it sighted in. I did have to compensate because I adjusted the scope to be better at 100 yards, but even still, I was able to get these 3 groups, which the largest group is about 3 inches to 3¼ inches. This was my 50-yard target, and it was the same target I used the first time around, so you can see all my initial shots. I got a couple more in the bullseye, one a little bit left and one high, and then I took one shot at each of the bullseyes on the top of the target with varying results. So this is my target at 100 yards, and I think I overcompensated. Originally, my groups were a little bit on the high side, about 4 inches high, and I think I overcompensated, and now I'm about 2 to 3 inches low. So you can kind of see the groups that I shot after I compensated with the scope. They're not horrible, they're not the best in the world, but the accuracy definitely does improve with that scope on there versus shooting with open sights. Now I just have to decide if I really want to keep this gun or not. The scope and the mount did make a huge difference in the accuracy on this and the fun to shoot it, but I'm starting to realize that I may like the idea of the Mosin Nagant more than I actually like the Mosin Nagant.